Good morning, guys. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, which is far too early for any sane person to be out. But here I am on Whitley Bay Beach, and yeah, let's try and photograph sunrise. Oh, good morning and welcome to another video. It probably doesn't surprise you too much to know that I don't generally come out and do sunrises in the summer on the northeast coast, because sunrises are a crazy time. I've come to Whitley Bay, my local beach, and I think really we're coming into a low tide. So I'm going to try and make the most of the rock pools which are sort of there at the moment. Now, I'm not sure what the footprint situation is going to be like at the moment, so it's going to be a case of just having a bit of a hunt along the beach. I haven't got very long though, unfortunately. And to make matters worse, if I flip you round, you will see that the likelihood of any sort of decent sunrise colour is, well, generally not very optimistic. Okay, we might be onto something here. I quite like the simplicity of a pool here, so I'm going to set up. Basically, with there not being much cloud cover, I've really got to try and make the composition as strong as possible. Now, this is the problem with sunrise photography, isn't it really? You never particularly know what you're going to get. But I do know one thing, it's just nice to be out. I suspect I haven't got very long till the sunrise, and I don't know. Now, in case if you're wondering why I'm fighting with my bag like this, it's simply because obviously the ground is wet. And I don't particularly want to get my bag totally covered in sand. You know, it does happen quite often, but I might as well try and minimise it a bit. So I'm going to start off with my 24-105, which I think is a cracking lens, to be honest, on the Panasonic system. Now, I've conveniently got my camera set up with a custom function. So it's a Panasonic S5, I've got it set up with a custom function, which automatically basically puts it into ISO 100 in aperture priority at f14. Okay, it's going to need a bit of refining. So I'll have a jiggle around and then I'll talk you through the composition. So hopefully this will give you an idea. Essentially, you can't see fully on the video unfortunately, but I'm using this little rock pool as the main point of interest at the front really. In the shot, which I'll just throw quickly, the raw version, you'll see that there's actually quite a lot of sand in front of it. And then it's just a case of it's going slowly out towards the lighthouse on the distance. It's not a perfect composition, but I think it's a start. I think I'm going to take it. I think one thing I would say is setting up custom functions on your camera is actually a really good idea. It allows you to work very quickly between different scenarios. Now, for example, I've got C1, C2, C3. C1 is my landscape mode as such, so it basically goes to ISO 100, f14, normal aspect ratio. C2 is my video setup, so I'll flick it to C2 and then I hopefully get some video. And then C3 I use for candid stuff for weddings, you know, think street photography. So basically it's set to a monochrome film profile, it's set on auto ISO, and it's generally set on shutter priority as well. I think about 1.25 of a second. Simply so I can use it handheld and just sort of take some shots. But anyway, so I suspect I found the subject. I think these pools here look really nice ripples. Problem being, the sun's rising. Basically, my foreground interests are going to be these rocks here. Now the problem I have is the ripples here are beautiful, but if I start going forward to compose a shot with these rocks as foreground interest with ripples around, I'm running a serious risk of actually ruining my ripple patterns. So I think this is something to be really mindful of when sort of working on a beach that is very, or even in snow to be honest, that it can be really easy to actually ruin your composition. So what you need to do, you need to try and keep everything as clean as possible. So that unfortunately means working outwards, inwards. Okay, I'm not really 100% convinced by this shot. I think the composition just has a bit, really has a bit too much water going on. You know, this rock pool is probably just a little bit too big. But it's worthwhile taking. But what I haven't allowed myself to do is I'm having sort of a backup plan. So I'm not sure if you can see, but after this shot, once the sun gets a little bit high and hopefully get some sun, some nice patterns of the water channels and rocks there. So I'm going to go straight to that and I'm going to try and do that one straight after as soon as the sun rises. And then finally, the last shot I want to try and get is of the Rendezvous Cafe up there. I'm not sure that one's going to work, to be honest. I'm not sure if the sun's going to be turned the wrong direction. I may just have to be content with a sunrise. Well, I may just have to be content with an early morning shot on the beach. Unfortunately, the sunrise isn't particularly going to happen. Unfortunately, the sunrise never did happen. And to be honest, I wasn't happy with any of the shots I took on the beach. And to add insult to injury, my mic stopped recording, hence why you've got me talking over now a shot of me walking around taking my final shot of the morning. One that actually I was semi-happy with. Yes, it could have done with a bit more cloud, but I quite like the composition and I think it's definitely a shot that I would return to try again. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do consider giving it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And I'll see you again very soon for another one.